Welcome to the Good Book Tales. In today's video, we're diving into a story that blends ancient legend with futuristic power. David and Goliath. Mecha Battle 2099. Picture this. The year is 2099. The Earth is a patchwork of glittering cities, fractured wastelands, and endless skies lit with holograms. Humanity has reached heights once thought impossible. Machines that think, armies made of steel, and giants forged not by nature, but by technology. Yet even in this new world, one truth remains. Courage still matters more than size. It all begins in the city of New Zion, a mega metropolis rising from the ashes of what used to be the Middle East. Towering above its skyline stands the Goliath-class Mecha, an unstoppable war machine over 300 feet tall. Built by the Helix Corporation, Goliath is not just a weapon. It's a symbol of dominance, a reminder that the strong still rule the weak. Its steel body gleams under the neon light, and every thundering step echoes through the city like the heartbeat of a god. But in the shadows of those shining towers lives David Kane, a 19-year-old mechanic with oil on his hands and rebellion in his eyes. He's small, quiet, and invisible to most people. But David carries something the corporations fear more than weapons, a spark of defiance. He works in a scrapyard at the edge of the city, fixing broken drones and salvaging parts from forgotten machines. What no one knows is that David has been building something of his own. A secret project powered by dreams, rage, and hope. The world of 2099 runs on power and profit. Every citizen is tagged, tracked, and ranked by their productivity score. The Helix Corporation decides who eats, who works, and who survives. And when David's family is caught in a Helix data purge, erased from the system overnight, he realizes that following the rules only leads to ruin. That's when his story begins. That's when the legend of David and Goliath is reborn. One night, as storm clouds roll over New Zion, David stands before his half-finished Mecha, a lean, rough-edged prototype built from junkyard parts and stolen tech. It's nothing compared to Goliath, but it's his creation, his voice against a system that never listened. Lightning flashes, and for a moment, he sees his reflection in the steel plating. He doesn't see a mechanic anymore. He sees a warrior. And just as he powers up his machine for the first time, an emergency broadcast fills the air. The Goliath Mecha is moving toward the city's lower district. No one knows why. No one dares to stop it. But David does. The storm grows louder. The lights flicker. He tightens his gloves and whispers, "Let's finish this." The engines ignite, and the ground trembles. Two forces, one of flesh and one of iron, are about to collide. But neither knows that someone, or something, else is watching. Rain fell hard over New Zion, washing neon lights into rivers of color that streamed down the cracked streets. The city didn't sleep. It never had. But tonight felt different. There was a weight in the air, a low hum of unease that crawled beneath the sound of thunder. Somewhere high above the clouds, Goliath's sensors scanned the horizon, its red eyes flickering through the dark. It was more than a machine. It was a presence, a reminder that Helix's reach extended everywhere. David stood under the tin roof of his workshop, his hands trembling as sparks burst from the generator. The air smelled of metal and rain. His small Mecha, barely 20 feet tall, looked nothing like the polished giants the corporation built. It was rough, uneven, but alive in its own way. Every bolt and wire told a story of nights spent scavenging, of near arrests, of hope that refused to die. He looked at the old photograph pinned to the wall. His parents smiling before Helix's purge erased them from the system. That memory burned brighter than any flame. As he powered up the cockpit, the machine let out a deep mechanical sigh. The systems flickered to life, one after another, Lines of data danced across the cracked display screen. David had coded most of the interface himself, using scripts he stole from abandoned Helix archives. He called his creation Shepherd, a name from a world that believed one person could stand against a giant. The irony wasn't lost on him. Meanwhile, in Helix Tower, the city's central command pulsed with blue light. Inside, Director Cassian Voss watched the mecha feeds on a massive wall of holographic displays. His expression was cold, unreadable. To the public, Voss was a visionary who saved cities after the energy wars. But to those who lived in the shadows, he was a tyrant in a tailored suit. His eyes focused on the Goliath feed as its massive frame moved through the lower district. "Bring it closer," he ordered quietly. His voice echoed through the control room. "I want to see who dares step in its way." Back in the scrapyard, David's heart raced. The ground shook again, a deep vibration rolling through the rain. The monitors flickered. He turned toward the city skyline and saw the faint silhouette of something enormous moving through the storm. The red glow of Goliath's eyes cut through the darkness like twin suns. David clenched his fists. He wasn't ready, not really, but sometimes waiting meant losing everything. The storm raged louder, metal howling in the wind as his voice broke the silence. "Let's see if the world still remembers what courage looks like." And with that, the shepherd took its first step into the rain. The city below was chaos. Sirens wailed, drones buzzed overhead, and the streets glowed red from emergency alerts flashing across every screen. People poured into underground shelters while the upper sectors locked down completely. No one really knew what triggered Goliath's movement, but rumors spread fast. Some said it was a system malfunction. Others whispered that Helix was sending a message. For David, it didn't matter why. What mattered was that the machine was heading straight for the old districts, the last part of the city untouched by corporate control. Inside the cockpit, the vibrations grew stronger as the shepherd's sensors came online. David could see faint signals blinking across his radar. Security drones, patrol mechs, and surveillance grids. He had spent months studying Helix's defense patterns, but seeing it unfold in real time made his stomach twist. His machine wasn't built for open combat. It was built to move quietly, to strike fast and disappear. Still, as the storm thickened, stealth became impossible. The closer he got, the clearer the image became. Goliath's shadow looming like a mountain, its steel limbs cutting through the rain. Meanwhile, deep beneath the city, a small group of rebels gathered in a dimly lit bunker. Among them was Mira, an ex-Helix engineer who once designed part of Goliath's control system. Her hands trembled as she watched the same feed David was seeing. "If that mech reaches the power grid," she whispered, "it could shut down half the city." The group exchanged worried glances. No one knew David personally, but rumors of a rogue mechanic building his own machine had spread through the underground network. Back on the surface, lightning split the sky, revealing both mechs, one towering, flawless, and cold, the other smaller, rough, and burning with defiance. The storm roared louder as the first signals of conflict began to spark. The storm had become a living thing, wrapping around the two machines like a curtain of fire and rain. Each thunderclap sounded closer, echoing through the hollow shells of the old buildings as if the city itself was holding its breath. David could feel the vibration of Goliath's footsteps through his seat, each one a reminder of the difference between them. His controls trembled, warning lights flashing red across the panel. The shepherd was running hot, its old power core straining under the pressure. But David didn't pull back. He pushed harder. From the Helix control room, Director Voss watched the unfolding chaos with cold precision. "Focus all cameras on the lower district," he commanded. Around him, his team scrambled, voices shaking as static filled their comms. Through the flickering hologram, Goliath's massive arm rose into view. "Target acquired. one of the operators muttered. But Voss wasn't watching Goliath. His eyes were locked on the smaller figure moving fast through the storm. "Who are you?" he whispered, leaning closer. David maneuvered the shepherd through the ruins, weaving between shattered buildings and fallen towers. Every flash of lightning revealed the massive silhouette ahead. The closer he got, the more the air seemed to pulse with static energy. He could see the armor plates of Goliath glinting in the rain, each one marked with Helix's insignia. The sheer size of it was overwhelming, but David felt something else now. Focus. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about making the world see that even a single voice could echo through metal and thunder. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light cut through the darkness, locking onto the shepherd. The warning alarm screamed inside the cockpit. David gripped the controls as the ground beneath him cracked open from the shockwave. The air burned with heat and light. And then, for a heartbeat, everything went silent. When the silence broke, it wasn't the sound of destruction that filled the air. It was a voice, soft at first, distant and broken through the static. It echoed inside David's headset. "David Kane, you need to stop." His breath caught. The voice was unmistakable. It was his mother's, but that was impossible. She had been gone for years, erased in the Helix purge, deleted from every record, every system. "Who is this?" he demanded, his voice trembling. The line crackled again. "They lied to you," the voice said. "We're still here, inside the network." David's heartbeat thundered in his chest. The shepherd's systems flickered as if something, or someone, was trying to access them remotely. Across the city, in the Helix Tower, Director Voss turned sharply toward one of his technicians. "We're getting an external data breach. Patch it now." But it was too late. A ghost signal was spreading through their network, bypassing firewalls faster than anything they had ever seen. The operator stammered, "Sir, it's coming from inside Goliath." Lightning flashed again, and for a moment David saw something strange on his radar. A secondary energy pulse radiating from Goliath's core, separate from its power system. He zoomed in on the display, his stomach sinking. The readings didn't belong to any mechanical source. They were human. "No," he whispered. "It can't be." Mira, watching from the underground bunker, saw the same data spike. Her face went pale. "Helix didn't just build a machine," she said quietly. "They uploaded consciousness. Someone's mind is inside that mech." The realization hit like a shockwave. The Goliath wasn't fully autonomous. It was being controlled by a living mind. And judging by the voice, David was beginning to believe he knew exactly whose it was. The ground rumbled again as Goliath's massive frame shifted, the glow from its eyes turning from red to a deep, pulsing gold. It moved differently now, hesitating, as though something inside was resisting control. Voss slammed his fist on the console. "Override it. Full manual sequence." But the machine didn't respond. Instead, it raised its head toward the stormy sky, its voice modulator crackling through the rain. "David, please, don't fight me." The words froze him completely. Inside that towering weapon, beneath layers of steel and circuitry, was the last person he ever thought he'd face. The battle that had begun as rebellion was no longer just about freedom. It was about family, truth, and the terrifying cost of power. And as the shepherd systems surged with light, David realized the real war was only beginning. The storm raged like it was alive, lightning flashing across the skyline, as if the heavens themselves were watching. David's hands trembled on the controls, his heart torn between disbelief and determination. His mother's voice echoed again through the comms, soft but filled with urgency. "David, Helix trapped us in their system. They used our minds to power Goliath. You can't destroy it without destroying me." The words hit harder than any explosion could. Everything he had fought for, every reason he had built the shepherd, suddenly twisted into something cruelly impossible. In the Helix control room, alarms screamed as data streams surged out of control. Director Voss shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by static and the low rumble of the storm. Mira broke into the main feed from her bunker, her face flickering onto every Helix screen. "Voss, shut it down. You're risking the neural cores." But Voss only smirked. "You think I care about a few trapped minds? They are the machine." His words chilled everyone in the room. The truth was no longer a secret. The Goliath wasn't powered by technology alone. It was built on human lives. David's eyes filled with tears, but his resolve hardened. "If I can't save you, then I'll free you." The shepherd's reactor began to glow, the power readings climbing dangerously high. He redirected all systems toward Goliath's neural core, his fingers flying across the console. Sparks flew inside the cockpit as the overload sequence began. Goliath's massive frame turned, its movements hesitant, conflicted. "David, stop!" the voice pleaded, but beneath it, he could hear something else. His mother's true voice, faint but calm. "You can do this, my son." The two mechs collided in a blinding flash, metal against metal, thunder against thunder. For a moment, the entire city vanished in white light. Then, silence. When the dust cleared, Goliath stood motionless, its eyes dark. The shepherd lay beside it, its frame shattered, smoke rising from the wreckage. As Helix's systems crashed across the network, Voss stared at the dark screens in disbelief. But before power fully faded, one last feed flickered to life. A single message scrolled across it, an encrypted code carrying a new signature. "Shepherd Protocol, active." Mira gasped as she read the data. David hadn't died. He had uploaded himself into the network. The boy who defied the giant had become something more, something the world would never see coming. The storm finally began to fade, leaving the city washed clean beneath a pale morning light. Smoke drifted above the skyline where the two mechs had fallen, their battle now just echoes in the wind. The people of New Zion emerged from shelters, their eyes filled with confusion and awe. For the first time in years, the Helix command towers stood silent. The great Goliath, symbol of the corporation's power, had fallen. And somewhere within the wreckage of the shepherd, something new had awakened. Mira climbed through the debris, coughing through the smoke as she searched for signs of life. The scanners were down, but faint signals still pulsed from the fallen machines. Then she saw it, a flicker of light coming from a broken panel. Her wrist pad lit up as a voice came through the static. "Mira, it's me." Her breath caught. The voice was unmistakable. "David?" she whispered. "You're alive?" "Not like before," he said. "I had to merge with the system to stop Goliath. But I'm here, and so is she." There was a pause, then another familiar voice, his mother, soft and warm. "We're free now, Mira. The others too. The neural cores have been released." As her screen displayed the data stream, she saw hundreds of encrypted codes unraveling, each one belonging to a consciousness once trapped inside Helix's machines. One by one, they faded into the network, finally at peace. Days passed, and word of the battle spread beyond the city. People began to question the system to see what one act of courage could do. The name David Kane became a symbol whispered in streets and underground channels, a reminder that even in a world ruled by machines, the human spirit could still rewrite the code. Helix tried to rebuild, but something had changed. Every attempt to restore their network failed. Somewhere within the circuits, David's voice remained, a quiet guardian in the machine, watching, guiding, waiting. As the sun set over New Zion, Mira stood at the edge of the city, looking up at the sky now free of drones. She smiled faintly. "You did it, David," she whispered. The wind carried a soft electronic echo in reply. "No, we did." The lights of the city flickered gently, like a heartbeat returning after a long sleep. And for the first time in a century, New Zion felt truly alive again.